Hello, welcome to Podophiles Episode 1. This is Jackson, joined with Kaya.
Hello.
We are looking at our very first predator of the show, a man named Steve Reddington. Look at this man. He's beautiful. Balding, goatee, he's wonderful.
Yeah, we're looking at his mugshot. Well, not a mugshot. It seems to be cropped from a family photo. He does look happy. He has a smile on his face. He's balding, but that's fine. Goatee.
I assume this was before his arrest. Well, actually, no. That's a good point. So this predator was the very first to catch a predator who showed up on the show. This was a part of the Holbrook investigation in New York. And fun fact about this very first investigation, none of these guys got booked. None of them got charged. None of them got arrested.
Yeah, that was the case for the first one or two episodes of To Catch a Predator. They did not yet work with law enforcement. That only started being a thing after, I think, the third episode, where they brought in local law enforcement. Because, they still did interview law enforcement, like, hey, what these guys are doing, this is illegal, right? And we can show this on TV and make fun of them. And the cops would be like, yeah, this is super illegal what they're doing. Next time you should tell us.
Yeah, trying to pick up kids off the internet. Yeah, that's pretty illegal, turns out.
Even if there is no kid, which I didn't know before I ever watched this show, which is interesting.
You didn't know that it was illegal to pick up a kid that's not technically a kid? Like, if you thought it was a kid?
No, I genuinely didn't know that. Like, when they say intent is all that matters, like, the excuse that they always use is, well, there wasn't an actual child, so how the fuck am I guilty of molesting anyone? I didn't know that was, like, an actual thing that they had considered in the law and written to cover the loopholes of, well, you still meant to fuck a kid and we have to deal with you, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is a good thing. And it also brings to mind plenty of situations where, like, a 20-year-old guy at a bar has sex with, like, a 17-year-old who has told him that she's over the age of 18. Like, that's not a pedophile because the intent isn't there that he wanted to fuck someone underage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, there are no such cases in this. It's always the same fucking story.
No, yeah.
Yeah. They all know how old the perverted justice decoy is.
Yeah, no, so with these predators, like Stephen Reddington, the guy that we're discussing right now, it's pretty clear-cut and pretty deplorable. These are usually men aged over 20 trying to pick up, like, 12 to 13-year-old girls and boys.
In this case, Steve is 35, and I just now saw Perverted Justice gave him a sliminess rating of 4.65 out of 5. So high up there. IMDb sliminess rating.
Perverted Justice publishes all of their chat logs that they have with the perps, the pedophiles, and then, like, people can rate their sliminess online. So I went through a lot of them, and, like, all of them are above 4.5, so it doesn't really mean much at the end of the day because no one's going to score less than a 4.5 on the sliminess rating, considering they're trying to pick up 12-year-olds. But, it's somewhat of a decent barometer. The closer you get to 5, the more slimy you are.
Yeah, well, and all of you can read the chat logs online. I don't know if the website is still functional, but I'm sure you can find an archive. And it just occurred to me, I don't think you could do this nowadays anymore. This would be considered doxing. Like, they would just complain that, like, Steve Reddington could absolutely complain to fucking Cloudflare and have his chat logs taken down nowadays.
Yeah, probably. But luckily for us, all his information is out there. The Perverted Justice people kept it on file, so it's up on the internet. You can go through his chat logs as well. His username, SR82194. And he was a man who is described as a fast mover by Chris Hansen and the team because it's someone that doesn't take long to chat. Like, the time between chatting and then showing up is a very small amount. For example, with Steve Reddington, he spent an entire 2 hours conversing with the decoy before he showed up on the doorstep ready for a date. So
he's got game.
That's a fast mover. Yeah, he's quick.
I don't have that kind of game with the ladies. Doesn't even buy her dinner first.
No, he's right there in the middle of the day, ready for a date with a 14-year-old. He believed he was meeting up with a 14-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He. Do you think that this man looks like the stereotypical pedophile?
I feel like that would be mean to say because I'm sure there's a lot of people, normal people that look like this. So I'll say no. But at the same time, looking at him and knowing that he's a pedophile, it's like, yeah, it's not a surprise.
You could believe it if you saw him.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
I feel the same way. Like when I look at him, just disregarding all of the evidence, let's say, all of the footage out there of him doing this, I wouldn't immediately think he's a pedophile or anything. He looks like a pretty normal guy, to be honest.
I mean, he has a normal life. Before the show happened, he apparently was married, or still is married, has a child, allegedly. So presumably he's been living a normal life behind the scenes when he's not on AOL trying to pick up kids.
Let's take a look at his first appearance on the show when he first showed up. This is him entering the house where he believes a 14-year-old currently is.
Meet 35-year-old Steve, known on the internet as SR8219. He's a married man with children.
Just come on in and sit at the counter. I gotta finish getting dressed.
Dell, posing as a 14-year-old, invites him in. And even though there really isn't a 14-year-old in the house, this man still may be committing a crime, according to sex crimes expert Ken Lanning.
The federal law makes it pretty clear there doesn't have to be an actual child there.
Well, there we go. We heard from an actual a lawyer or something at the end there of that video clip about the legality of trying to pick up a child. Apparently it is illegal. And so people out there listening to the show don't have video footage, but we will obviously have just heard that. But in the video, Steve Reddington shows up to the house and is peering through windows and doesn't look like conspicuous at all. Like he's peering through the windows. He's got a hoodie on. He looks like he's about to either break in or do something sinister.
Yeah, he looks like he's staking the place out, like to see if there's anyone inside. He is very shady, and these people just cannot help themselves. When you watch this video clip, which, to describe to our viewers again, he looks very trepidatious. These people are so fucking tempted by their impulses, but they cannot help themselves. This man knows something is fishy. This is a very bad idea. What I'm about to do is very, if all the neighbors knew, they would beat the shit out of my ass and they would kick me out of the neighborhood. He knows this, but he can't help himself.
This is life-ending. This is a life-ending risk I'm about to take by entering this door. I mean, you've taken the risk already. You've shown up. That's enough. But it speaks to that kind of bad impulse control for sure.
In the chat logs, he even hints at, wait, is this a setup? He asks the girl, which is not a girl, of course, it's perverted justice. He asks, this sounds like a setup. And the girl says, a setup? Huh? I don't get it. And he says, police, cops. And the girl just says, lol, no, I'm not a pig. And I guess that's good enough for Steve. All right. Doesn't sound fishy anymore.
He's like, oh yes, that is a compelling argument. I believe you, 14-year-old
This is the kind of idiot who watches a movie and he's like, well, if you're a cop, you have to tell me, right? It says so in the Constitution.
Yeah. Well, they want it. It's just like that he wants to believe it. That's the most compelling thing about this, is that he wants to believe it, so that makes him believe it. You know what I mean? It's so important to him that there's actually a 14-year-old girl there ready to have sex with him, willing to have sex with him, that all kinds of logic and aversion goes out the window, and it's just poor impulse control.
Yeah, this is what's called thinking with your dick. It's on full display here.
Well, it's thinking with your dick as well as some kind of psychological thing that's gone wrong that makes him attracted to underage.
Well, there's that, and also
clearly
they're very stupid. I don't know what it is about the average pedophile, but they're all very, very fucking stupid. They're all very low IQ.
I was going to say, do we have scientific backing there? Do we know what the average IQ of a pedophile versus a non-pedophile is?
I mean, there aren't studies, but every single time one of these guys gets caught, it's for the dumbest reasons. Their laptops will malfunction and they'll hand it in to get serviced, and their wallpaper will be a naked baby or something, and then they get caught. It's like, buddy, how dumb are you? How do you get caught this fucking easily? Especially back in that day when mass surveillance wasn't a thing. I don't know. I do not have studies to back up my claim, but I feel like these people are fucking dummies.
It's probably a good thing that they are dummies, though, because they get caught way easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the intelligent pedophiles that you have to be worried about.
Or the intelligence agency pedophiles like Epstein. All right.
Episode 1 coming in hard, going straight into Epstein. Nice. Steve Reddington is a considerate individual as well. We're going to head into our next clip here, where he asks an important question to the decoy.
You on the pill?
No. You wear condoms?
If you want me to, but I'm sterile.
Okay, then you don't have to wear a condom if you don't want to.
But before we have sex, I want you to make me
I don't know what that that final line means. Before we have sex, I want you to make me come. What does that mean?
I don't know. I guess he can't come from my penis and vagina sex, or he really wants head, and he wants to do anal with her. From the chat logs, he asks her, what have you done so far? He says, anal, do you swallow? Would you try it? When do you get your period? And how do you keep your privates? All these fucking questions, like, you're a choosy beggar, aren't you, buddy? Like, you found a child that's willing to invite you to her home, and you're like, I don't know, do you do anal? And I don't want to see any hairs down there, young lady. It's like, buddy, you take what you get, you fucking freak.
At least he's considerate. He asked if she was on the pill. Like, there's some level of care there.
Yeah, and then he says
doesn't want a pregnant 14-year-old.
And then he says he's sterile. Well, if you're sterile, then why do you even ask? What's the point of the question, right?
That is a good point.
And also, always with these people, they are so obsessed with like doing the freakiest shit with little kids. Like, have you done anal? Have you ever had a man fist you? It's like, no, I'm 12. I've never even seen a penis in my life. Like, why do you think that a little child would have done hardcore porn shit? These people are so broken in the head.
Yeah, exactly. It's because, like, being attracted to a child is the most perverted thing you can basically do or have attached to you. So it makes sense that they would also be attracted to a lot of the less perverted stuff.
Oh, absolutely. My point is simply that they think they're going to get a big yes, I've done it from like a 12-year-old. Like, yeah, I've been in an anal gangbang, bukkake. Dumbass.
Like, what kind of... how detached are you from reality where you think that that's like a reasonable thing that a 12-year-old will have done anal by then?
Right.
It's ridiculous. It really does just show how detached these people are from reality, I think. Mm-hmm. It really does a good job at illustrating that. So let's circle back briefly to the final thing he said in that voice call, that dramatic reading by the Chris Hansen team. He says that he wants to have sex before he wants to come before they have sex. What kind of like retractory period does this man have? He's built different. He's gonna have sex after he comes.
Oh, see, again, that's the porn thing. All of these people watch way too much porn. They read way too much hentai. That's the thing where, like, in the hentai, the guy will touch the woman and she'll come just from him putting a finger on her boob. And then he'll come on her face or something and he'll still be hard. And he'll immediately fuck her. Yeah. It's the same thing in porn. It's like, that's not how it works. Like, most men can't fuck for 2 hours straight like you see in porn. Definitely not schlubby 35-year-old pedophiles like you, balding, who are going to show up there with all these big promises of, I'm going to go down on you, I'm going to make you come real good, we're going to do anal, I'm going to give you a head, you're going to give me a head. I mean, if you do score, you're going to come in like 5 minutes and you're going to slink out the door. Best case, worst case, you're going to fucking kidnap the kid.
I think 5 minutes is being generous. If this is like such a built-up thing in their heads, there's no way they're lasting more than like 5 seconds, and then they're gonna cry into the pillow about how they've once like life hits them and they realize what they've done.
It's gonna be 5 minutes of actual sex and 5 hours of photo taking.
Oh god, yeah, you're right. All right, so let's take a look at the very first face-to-face meeting between one Steve Reddington and Chris Hansen. Now, Chris Hansen goes in hard and fast in his interviews usually. He doesn't like to lube them up. He gets straight to the questions a lot of the times.
He pounces on them too. What usually happens is these guys will come in and then Dell, the decoy, will usually say, oh, just take a seat at the kitchen counter or something. And then
I'll be with you in a sec.
Yeah, I'll be with you in a sec. I'm just doing laundry or playing with my Matchbox toy cars or whatever. And then Chris Hansen will come
getting my asshole ready for anal.
Yeah, literally, some episodes she'll be like, I'm just getting ready for you. And then Chris Hansen will come out. And Chris Hansen, like a tall man, kind of imposing. He was still young. And he comes out looking like a fucking federal agent, immediately intimidating these guys with a bunch of paperwork in his hands, going, so why are you here?
A lot of the times, the pedophiles' reactions are pretty fucking great. So let's have a listen to Chris Hansen and Steve Reddington's first meeting.
Mm-hmm. I knew.
You knew what?
Exactly what was going on.
Just take your hands out of your pockets for me. Are you done? Put them up.
No, fine. No problem. I knew what was going on. I'm not stupid.
It's always, I'm not stupid. I know. I knew exactly that you were here, Chris. I predicted it.
I knew it. I knew no 12-year-old actually wanted to suck my dick. Yeah, think, you dumbass. You still thought that there was a chance because you showed up, didn't you?
I see that a lot with these pedophiles. It's like they have to reclaim some level of power from the situation. So they immediately go to, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. You can't shock me, Chris.
Yeah, it's always a switcheroo of, oh, actually, I tricked you, Mr. Hansen. So you see, I knew that this was going to happen. And I came here to make sure that I was right. And that was actually a setup. I wanted to show you guys myself just how right I was. Okay. Take a seat.
He sure proved him. And then usually a follow-up question that Chris likes to jump into pretty quickly, other than like what the predator does for an occupation and what their home life is like if they've got kids and loved ones and such, is he asks them if they do this a lot. By this I mean trying to chat up 12-year-olds. So let's have a listen to what Steve Reddington thinks of that question.
It's pretty clear that Steve thinks he was caught up in a police sting. He says he was just coming over to check it out.
So you were obviously suspicious in the beginning.
Of course I am. I'm always suspicious.
Always? Do you do this a lot?
No, this is the first time I've actually did show up to see what was going on.
And you expect me to believe that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. You know, Jackson, on my Saturday evenings, I like to go to my local police sting. Like when they're trying to catch a bunch of biker gangs selling drugs or whatever, I like to just show up at the bar and eat popcorn and watch and be part of the people getting arrested. Just out of curiosity.
Yeah,
I like to participate in police stings.
I wanted to get an inside look at how a sting goes down, really. I wanted to be on the receiving end just to really know what that was like.
Yeah, where I'm the target.
Yeah, that's all. That's all, Chris. Just this once.
Do it. Do the thing where you book me and take my fingerprints. Oh, this is so much fun.
Put me away for 20 years. I want to see what that's like, Chris. Yeah. There hasn't ever been a pedophile on the show that's been honest and said that they do this a lot. It's always, no, this is the first time, Chris. You caught me the first time. And it's just, it's always a downright lie. You know, these people are constantly on the chat rooms trying to pick up a underage person to live out their fantasies.
Oh, for sure. There must be so many like chatters that they actually do make contact with, but I assume most of them never get back to them. And the only reason that Perverted Justice does is, of course, to bait them into coming. By the way, Perverted Justice and baiting in general back in the day, there was I guess you could call it a code of honor, but I think the law also requires this. They do not reach out to the pedophiles. They wait until the pedophile reaches out to them. They have to initiate the chats. Like, Perverted Justice doesn't just go to random 35-year-olds in the chat and go, hey, you want to come over? I'm naked and alone right now. They always wait for the pedophile to initiate the sexual talk, to initiate the chat to begin with. And which says a lot about these guys. I mean, he clearly does this a lot because he's so casually aggressive about how fast he moves. Again, 2 hours is all it took from him, from the initial hello, how old are you, to where do you live, I'm coming.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing added on top of what you were just describing that Perverted Justice usually does, they are always extremely upfront with the age that they are portraying. It's always usually like the first message they say is I'm a 14-year-old, or it's in their profile that they're using on their instant messaging. It's instant messaging apps now, but back in the day it was like chat boards and stuff like that, IRCs.
And they make sure to talk like kids. They leave no doubt that the person at the other end of this chat is a child. Or at the very least, they make sure that you believe that it is a child.
Well, these people would believe it. I never bought into their child speak. I always thought it was pretty like forced and over the top, and probably not how children talk on the internet. But I don't know.
I don't know. I probably talked like this as a child. I mean, all they do is just they write the number 2 instead of the word 2 and all that sort of stuff, and they misspell everything. It's like, okay, this probably is how a young child would talk, like a fucking idiot. The problem is Steve Reddington talks like that too, which is at this point, like, I just assume if I'm chatting with somebody online, I just assume that the person on the other end is, all of them are Steve Reddington, and I take cautions.
Yeah, it is interesting to see. So this was back in 2004, so this was a decent 18 years ago. So times were a bit different then. So it is interesting to see 30-plus-year-olds interact with
this
the
chat log is legal now.
Oh my god, yeah, that's crazy. Oh, wait. So, yeah, we should clarify that Steve Reddington, we said that he was a 35-year-old. That's at the time of 2004. So, obviously, 18 years have passed. He would be about 50-something now. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not
53-ish.
Yeah, I'm not going to do the math. But, yeah, he's in his 50s now. So, do you think he still thinks about this much?
About this incident? I mean, I don't know. I would assume that he hasn't been dissuaded from it. He probably still attempts these things. At the very least, I'm sure he still thinks about children when he jerks off, because to our knowledge, he's never seen the inside of a jail cell or anything, right?
No. And I did a police check on him, actually, for my investigation towards the end there, and no warrants were issued or no charges were laid against Steve Reddington for his transgressions here. So yeah, he lived as a free man for the last 18 years.
And save for, like, unless he applies for a really good job where they do a thorough background check, I don't think this would even impede him in his day-to-day life. Like, nobody's gonna, bother to check this shit if he's just applying to be a cashier or something.
Even then, he was a
nowadays.
35-year-old at the time when he committed this. He had a wife and children. So I'm assuming he had a pretty decent job. Or like he was self-employed, maybe in construction or something like that. There's a million ways you can get around that and still live a decent life.
Yeah, honestly, as long as his wife didn't watch Dateline NBC that evening, who the fuck would even know? Like, all he had to do was go home and be like, hey, I don't want to watch the news tonight. You guys want to watch Bad Santa instead? Don't turn on the TV. Let's play tabletop games. No TV night today. Family evening. Turn the DVR off.
Do you think it's turned him Amish? He's like, he moved his family out into the woods, no internet, no cell service. He's like, this is just what Steve Reddington wants to do now, guys. This is the life we
just sabotages the TV cable. Just cuts the cord. Oh, I guess the cat chewed on it again. Whoops. No TV for us this week.
The only thing I could think of that would impede this is people like myself who did far too much research into Steve Reddington. I was able to find relatives' contact information and such like that. I wouldn't dox or do anything with that kind of information, obviously, because I don't believe his family are guilty of the same crimes he is, or at least I don't have any reason to believe that. So the families of these predators are just as much victims in this as the kids at the end of the day. The fake kids.
He goes home. His mom is like, "So, did you score, honey? How did it go? How was she?" Okay.
So yeah, he had a wife and children. So I think they discussed this briefly here.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
And how would you feel if one of your children was 13 or 14 years old, that child was home alone, chatting with somebody on the internet who ultimately came over with no parent at home? How would you feel about that as a parent?
I'd be pretty pissed off.
It's rules for thee, but not rules for Steve. Basically, he's not beholden to the same like rules that he would put down against his children getting groomed and targeted by pedophiles. I find that a lot. Like, a lot of these predators actually do have wives and children, and it doesn't connect in their brain, or it does and they just don't admit it. But it doesn't connect in their brain that what they're committing on this fake child, they would not want that to happen to their child.
No, this is the case with, like, I don't want to go like all men, but this is a problem with men in general, where like they ask for the most deprived shit of women, and in pedophiles' cases, children. But whenever you bring up their own kids, it's like, oh, how dare you? It's like, hang on a minute. So you're arguing for things like, 17-year-olds should fucking sign up on OnlyFans, and then you ask, okay, would you want that for your daughter? And they go, what? How dare you? My daughter's not a fucking whore. Fuck you. It's like, well, you're a hypocrite then, aren't you? And Chris is right. Well, what if somebody chatted up your daughter, your fucking 14-year-old, and asked her if she does anal and if she wants to suck a fat incel's dick? You wouldn't like that so much, Steve. Well, okay, he's humiliated on TV, and at this point he realizes, okay, I fucked up. There's cameras in my face, and Chris Hansen reveals, oh, by the way, I'm not FBI, dummy. We're clowning on you on national TV. And he gets up, he realizes, oh, fuck, my face is gonna be all over the news. Holy shit. And he starts to get up and talk about how they have no permission to show him.
Oh yeah, that's another thing that these predators like to do is they like to try to convince Chris not to air the show, and they say outrageous like legal claims that like Chris doesn't have permission or he doesn't have the right to air anything.
Yeah, they all of a sudden they turn into fucking cops. Like, oh, what, you have no legal right. I didn't sign anything. You're not permitted to do this. They turn into these white trash lawyers. And the funny thing is, in some episodes, some of the pedophiles are blurred, and I assume those are the very few ones who can actually retain a lawyer. But in most cases, I assume the NBC team is just like, this guy can barely spell. What's he gonna do? He can't like cease and desist us. Just show his face. He's not gonna do anything about it, and so they do.
So I'm gonna fact check you a bit there. I don't think I've ever seen a blurred face in To Catch a Predator other than one, which
I have.
There was only one that I had seen, and it was a guy named Dark Hero, who we might talk about at a later time. But Chris made the decision to blur his face, or the this NBC team did, because he had like mental illness or something like that, like bipolar disorder.
Yeah, could be.
And he was worried about the guy committing, something bad. So that's why they blurred his face. But that's the only one that I've heard of that was blurred. But let's have a listen to this clip real quick about Steve becoming a lawyer.
We told them most headed for the door, like Steve, the married man with children.
I'm Chris Hansen of Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on grown-ups
Okay.
on the internet.
Go ahead. I am leaving.
All right,
because,
go ahead.
And you don't have my permission to put me on tape either.
Thanks, Steve. See ya.
And the way they always cover their faces when the cameras come out. Like, buddy, it's a little too late. You've been talking to Hansen for about an hour right there. Like, there's hidden cameras, obviously.
Yeah, you've been talking...
Why would they have this discussion with you off camera? Obviously, you've been filmed the whole time.
You've been filmed the entire time, but let's not forget, there's also a 2-hour-long chat log tied to your identity because you posted a picture with it, I presume. It was attached to your profile, and you've given information to the decoy, like your mobile number, because they like to call before they come and confirm in person.
That too, I forgot about that. In the chat logs, he tells the girl, okay, I'm going to go to a payphone, then I'll give you the number to the payphone, and you can call me there. Like, dude, could you look any shadier? What is this, a fucking drug deal? Do you really think this is being smart? I guess this is a dumb person's idea of being inconspicuous when you're trying to fuck a kid over the internet.
So let's have a look at the chat log real quick. The decoy says, I'd want to talk to you on the phone first before we meet. It's just a rule of mine. And then Steve says, I will go to payphone and get number, then give it to you to call there, okay? He sounds like a caveman for some reason.
And then the decoy says, no, that's sketchy, just give me your digits, okay?
And then he doesn't... Yeah, he doesn't understand what the word sketchy means, so it's very confusing to him. And then the decoy says, sketchy equals weird. I don't trust people who make me call payphones. And then he says, oh, it's just, I'm married and have to be very careful. Yes, you do, Steve. That's...
Yeah. Should have been a little more careful, idiot. But again, the fact that that they put this into the calculation, they actually think of this stuff like, okay, what if my wife checks my phone or the phone records? So they are so very aware of what they're doing,
absolutely.
And yet they're so fucking stupid. They're so dumb. Should we read his request of removal here that he sent to Perverted Justice?
Yeah, I couldn't verify this, but this was what was on Perverted Justice's website, so it could be true.
This is hysterical. So the chat log goes up on Perverted Justice. He's named and shamed on national TV. They upload all of his data onto their website. They clown on him. Here's a chat log. Lol, laugh at him. At some point, apparently, Steve sends Perverted Justice an email, and he sends it to ror@perverted-justice.com, which is presumably request of removal, where you would message them and say, hey, please take this down about me. This is illegal or whatever. But this is the worst grammar I've ever seen somebody have. He types like a furious toddler. I assume this is what it would sound like or what it would look like if your dog could type. He says, to whom it may concern, I am writing to ask it if you could take down the information you put up on your site about me. I know I made a big mistake, but the information being there, it also hurt friends and family, not just me. It's all caps, by the way. I toss on the phone with someone that does not fee work for you and was very upfront with her. I need the phone calls about hate and worse to stop. I made the first endless time mistake. So if you could please take the information down, I would appreciate it, Steve SR 82194.
How did you read that
So he sends
perfectly
this-
with all the typos? Did you set up like an AI bot with your voice to like read that, and you just?
No, I'm just schizophrenic.
That is incredible. You did not miss like a single type. You sounded like a robot.
Thank you. So he sends this completely disjointed, disheveled email that doesn't even like this will go straight into trash. Or I mean, worse, they just put it up on the website to clown on you even further. Like you couldn't even sit down to calmly write a letter to save your name, perhaps. He writes like a freaking lunatic. He writes like he's like he's drunk and on crack.
Yeah, it's all capital letters. It's like he's shouting. I like the end is I would appreciate it. Thank you, Steve. And then he's got in brackets the username he used to groom the child.
Yeah, like I'm that pedophile, by the way. Don't take down anybody else's info.
Yeah, you may know me as this name instead.
AKA doing business as SRA2. Dummy.
Yeah, the concept of this show was that we would have a look at their appearance in the show, clown on them a bit, laugh about their text logs and such. This was the Bethpage investigation, which was one of the first ones Perverted Justice and CNN did together. So it was pretty small. Like, it was a very small segment in a much larger episode. Steve Reddington didn't get the screen time that all of the other Predators in later episodes got, so there wasn't that much to dig through. But we
Yes, this is before Hansen and his team really hit their stride and they got into their groove. So these initial episodes, they're probably the ones that we're going to do and summarize. They might be a bit shorter, and there might not be a lot of meat on the bones, but we're going to get to the meatier stuff eventually, because there's a lot of episodes where they really do a deep dive into a lot of pedophiles and they talk to them for like half an hour at a time. So
and then there's additional material.
Definitely
like
stay tuned.
Chris Hansen's got videos talking about specific predators as well that we can go through and learn more details.
Yeah, the raw tapes.
Yeah.
But
I also wanted to, like, with a lot of these predators, perhaps later ones, but with a lot of these predators, I wanted to see where they are now, perhaps. I thought that would be interesting to see if they've reoffended, if they're still in prison, or if they managed to get their life together as much as a pedophile potentially could. But with Steve, the information that's out there is there's a bit there, but it's not in the interest of the podcast, really. Like, it's mostly to do with the people that he's currently living with. He's still with his partner, his wife, and I presume
allegedly has a daughter. Well, I mean, he admitted to having children. I assume we don't know if they're still in contact. Even if they were, who's to say that his daughter knows about what he's done? So,
but I also wouldn't want to dox these individuals and make them a target for people to harass and stuff. So that's not something that we're going to be diving into directly. But yeah, he is not in prison. He has a wife still and is living a normal life, it seems. So that's the before and after of Steve Reddington. He went in a pedophile. He is presumably still a pedophile. A very cheery ending to this episode.
Do you think all the other like later pedophiles look at this episode like, that lucky fucker, he didn't even get tased?
Yeah, I wish
I got caught in one of those episodes.
I wish I was in the first episodes of To Catch a Predator. Yeah. Instead of the ones where I get 20 years behind bars. Yeah. All right. So that's going to do it for this episode, the very first episode of Podophiles. We hope you enjoyed. You can get early access to episodes by visiting patreon.com/theofficialpodcast. We're still using that Patreon, so you're going to get a lot of content over there if you like us.
Yeah. Also give us feedback. Tell us what you think. And also tell us like the bigger pedo cases that you would like us to summarize or take a look at. It doesn't have to be Chris Hansen's material only. YouTuber pedos, just regular lol cows, maybe famous politician pedos. We'll do all the podophile pedos.
Every Monday, 7 p.m. EST, exclusively on audio platforms. Feel free to subscribe on Spotify or iTunes. Follow us and rate us as well. We really appreciate it. We want to grow this show a bit. Share it with people that also hate pedophiles. Hopefully there's a lot of people that you know that don't like pedophiles and would like to laugh at them. Yeah, that's about it for this first episode. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.